We are not alone on this journey. University transcends academia, transforming into a vibrant community where individuals unite to learn from one another, to grow and to forge unforgettable bonds. It's not always about having a precise plan. It's not always about figuring out. It's not always about reaching the finish line first. It's about discovering what we are truly passionate about. The true essence of college, however, lies beyond the confines of academic pursuits. What truly makes college so special is the life that's lived within its walls. It's about seeing things from different perspectives, exploring unique possibilities, taking on new challenges, finding joy in friendship, embracing individuality, expanding our knowledge and skills, and immersing ourselves in extraordinary experiences. It's a path that teaches us about resilience, courage, and determination. A quest that allows us to pursue our goals with purpose and clarity. A quest that helps us find balance, happiness, and fulfillment. A transformation that inspires us to live with intention, curiosity, and joy. A trail that leads us to a deeper understanding of who we are and what truly matters. It's a journey of self-discovery, where every experience shapes us into the best version of ourselves. We attend college for the education, but what we live with is a treasure trove of experiences that shape us forever. Experience a whole new world of academic excellence in a global environment. Dayanand Sagar University, inspiring future trailblazers today.
Over to you, Bhairavi. Just give me a minute. I'll put in your PPT.
Yes.
What was the file name?
Emotional intelligence webinar. It's there on your chat, sir.
Yeah, just a minute.
Can I proceed?
1 second.
Sure.
Yeah, visible?
Yes, sir. Good morning and a warm and heartfelt welcome to all the distinguished principals and highly esteemed teachers from across Pan-India to this interactive training session under the School Development Initiative Program organized by Dayananda Sagar University. SDIP is an initiative for progress by motivating our educators in the field to enjoy the noble work that all of you all are doing. It is an honor to have you all for the highly anticipated and sought after sessions. Dayananda Sagar University is a proud member of Dayananda Sagar Institution, a group having premium colleges, university, schools and international schools as well, that has been imparting education for over 6 decades in different disciplines. As an elite university, we have a distinct approach to providing skill-based experimental and collaborative education to emerging students for their holistic development and prepare them to face any real-life challenges. Thus, we are driving excellence in training our future leaders and workforce in various disciplines. Now, we all know that we are living in a dynamic world where dramatic changes information technology are shaping our entire education ecosystems and emerging business opportunities. We therefore believe in uplifting the prospective schools and their students by giving proper career guidance and support. Under our School Development Initiative program, we are organizing separate high quality training programs for principals, teachers, and students, which can help them grow in their future. Our high quality awareness program for students includes sessions on emerging cutting edge technology and related opportunities. So they have a long-term vision before they enroll in their future university and can decide their career path. Apart from this, we also give need-based customized high quality teachers training and development sessions to different schools. To move on to today's stations, I would hereby like to introduce our distinguished speakers for the day. Welcome Dr. K. N. Balasubramurthy, our Vice Chancellor and Professor of CSE. He is a former Vice Chancellor of PS University, Bangalore. Sir holds a bachelor's degree in electrical power engineering, master's degree in electrical engineering from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and PhD in computer science and engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. Sir has worked as a research panelist specialist in parallel computing at New Mexico State University, USA. He is also a former member of Karnataka Higher Education Council and the Academic Senate member of IIT Dharwad. Welcome to you, sir. Then we have Dr. Swati Patra, who is a professor in the discipline of psychology, School of Social Sciences, IGNOU, Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. She is also currently she is a director of School of Law in IGNOU. She has also worked in National Council of Educational Research and Trainings, NCERT. She has 21 years of teaching experience, research and training experience. Her areas of research interest are counseling, mental health, positive technology, parenting, and teacher and adolescent psychology. Her professional activities include, among other things, course design and development, course writing, course editing, and research guidance for PhD. She has several journal publications and book chapters. She has also written numerous chapters in IGNOU course materials. Her recent publication is the edited book on adolescence in India, Issues, Challenges, and Possibilities by Springer's Publication, Singapore. She is a program coordinator of master's degree in psychology and post-graduation diploma in mental health program of IGNOU. She is also a coordinator of SWAYAM course on counseling psychology from IGNOU. She has been involved in interactive radio counseling, that is Gyanavani, and academic counseling through television Gyan Darshan of IGNOU. She is also a certified happiness coach and a mindful trainer. She provides guest lectures and conducts trainings workshops on various areas related to psychology counseling, well-being, stress management, life skill, emotional intelligence, and mental health, including happiness and mindful. Welcome, Dr. Swati Patra. Thank you. Then our third speaker for the today is Dr. Sakshi Kaul. She is a teaching faculty at one of the leading universities. She is a PhD holder in the field of positive psychology. She has worked in the field of psychology as a counseling psychologist, learning facilitator, and professional trainer and coach. She has an experience of more than a decade in academia and industry. She believes in learning should be ongoing and got certified as NLP practitioner, neo-learning practitioner, research writings, and paper publications, book chapters. She has also written poems, prose, and inspirational quotes. She has published a book titled Metamorphosis. Is a compilation of her poems about life experiences and psychological disorders. Welcome, Dr. Sakshi Patra. Now, I would request Dr. K.N.B. Murthy, our Vice Chancellor, so to take over.
Okay, madam. Thank you for the nice introduction. Respected co-panelists, Dr. Swati Patra and Dr. Sakshi Kaul, and members of the admission team, and the distinguished teachers and principals who joined from the various organizations, schools across the country. We are extremely happy to organize this event. I need to thank the admission team for initiating some of these programs to understand the various dimensions of topics relevant to all of us. I'm basically a teacher. Therefore, I understand the things quite well in terms of what is needed for the present day education systems. I'm also happy that Dayanand Sagar University has been organizing activities such as campus info sessions, where we provide the information to the students and their parents with regard to the various programs of study in terms of the content, it also in terms of the scope for that program of study, and how to make a choice to continue their education in a particular institute. Secondly, we also conduct programs wherein experts are invited to talk on topics of relevance so that the participants are given the information about the latest developments in that area. This is the second activity that we do. The third activity that we do is conduct programs like SDIP, that is School Development Initiative Program, wherein we invite the suggestions from the teachers and the community about the topics of relevance and topics of interest to all of us, and invite experts on to talk about the topic. Today, we have two eminent speakers who have done a lot of work in this area. Before I make any remarks, let me confess that I am not an expert in this area, and I have limited knowledge of this. However, having invited by the admission team, I have to make few opening remarks. I am looking at the topic in the following way: emotional intelligence. For me, there are two words in this. One is emotion, the other one is intelligence. Let me understand what emotions are all about. Emotions are nothing but it's a feeling wherein it will be in the form of happiness. It may be in the form of fear, anger, or hatred caused by a situation we are in or the people we are with. That is exactly the definition of emotions. There will be multiple reasons for getting these emotions. The second word that is being indicated in the thing is intelligence. Intelligence for me is the ability to acquire and apply. In other words, intelligence is all about taking an action based on some reasoning, not by instincts. There's a way to analyze and take the action. That's the intelligence. Therefore, emotional intelligence is all about how do we control our emotions? How do we handle our emotions? These emotions are being caused for variety of reasons. And all of us are also aware that the emotions and the emotional intelligence of a person is being quantified by quotients, like emotional quotient, intelligence quotient. There's also quotient such as social quotient. They're all related and interdependent. Adversity quotient, spiritual quotient. There are also some new quotients which are coming recently. One is financial quotient, the other one is nutrition quotient. Everything is being quantified in this format. And all these things are related to, especially when we talk of emotional quotient, it talks about two important aspects. One is the awareness, the other one is management. Self-awareness and self-management is one aspect. That's exactly what emotions are indicated about. The situation you are in, that is situation we are in. Second, the people with we are with. This is the condition. Therefore, similarly, social awareness and social management, or the relationship management, becomes important as far as when we talk of emotional intelligence. Therefore, it's extremely important for us to understand how exactly we handle some of these things. How do we control this? The experts would give us the ways and means of doing it. Probably they talk about few case studies, how if emotions are not properly handled, may lead to problems. And I am a professor of control engineering, control systems. I teach that course quite regularly. Control systems is a subject in engineering which talks about controlling of parameters. The system in which we control the parameters for better functioning of the system. If I can relate that to the emotional intelligence, it's also required for a system to handle the emotions quite well. If I draw a parallel line between the two, in control systems, we talk about one particular parameter called stability. We talk about stability, means how fast a system can recover following a disturbance. If there's a disturbance, how the system recovers, how the system comes back to normal, how the system starts operating within a boundary, within a framework. That's exactly what we mean by system stability. In a similar way here, in terms of human interactions, there must be some kind of intelligence or some kind of stability for a person to come back to normal in the shortest possible time. There are techniques, probably experts would tell more about it. The ability to maintain the calmness following a particular situation, following the emotion being created. Therefore, I call it as emotional stability. Emotional stability basically means a human being must be in a position to have that stability quotient, meaning how fast we can come back to the normal and within the boundaries or within the framework. I'm sure this topic will be really interesting. Experts would tell us what are the ways and means of handling these emotions in a positive way, because handling emotions in a positive way is very, very important. And these are very, very relevant in the present day conditions. Probably we see a lot of sports activities, etc. How do the people handle those emotions, handle this control their emotions becomes very, very important. I think it's going to be part of our life. Therefore, we must learn handling some of these things, monitoring or controlling these things, ensuring that everything is within a framework, within a boundary. I think that's the topic is all about. I take this opportunity to thank the experts for the admission team by inviting me to be with the panel, eminent people, and say a few words. I'm sure at the end of this program, you will understand emotional stability, which is very, very important from the present day context, which also helps you to apply this in a environment, education environment, that environment setting that we're going to have, and also help our students to handle their emotions quite effectively. I think all that we need to do is to ensure that we are going to bring in a positive change in a environment or in a surface around us. I think thank you very much. Over to the moderator to take it forward.
Thank you for your words of wisdom, sir. Now I would request Dr. Swati Patra to take over. Before she starts, I would request all the participants to key in their questions in the question and answers box, so that at the end of the sessions, the speakers will definitely guide you through your questions and answers. It will be answered from them. Over to you, Dr. Swati Patra.
Thank you, Bhairavi. A very good morning and a very warm welcome to all of you here. As you know, the topic of today's session is emotional intelligence. That is knowing emotions and being intelligent about it. Okay. As our respected Vice Chancellor, Professor Murthy was talking just now, that when we look at this particular word, the term emotional intelligence, this word, there are two words here, okay, emotions and intelligence. Okay, so he quite beautifully explained this thing. Now, if I focus again on these things, that, okay, when we are talking about emotional intelligence, we know about emotions. Okay, in our day-to-day life, we often use this term emotions. We often feel these different types of emotions. Okay, but to what extent we are really aware about it? That is the question. And similarly, the term intelligence is also involved when you're talking about emotional intelligence as a concept. So about intelligence also, we know about the term, we use it in our day-to-day life also. So again, how do we go about this? On the one hand, we have emotions, we talk about emotions. On the other hand, we talk about intelligence. Okay. And now here in this session today, we will be talking about a concept that we call as emotional intelligence. And also, as Professor Murthy was pointing out, that this emotional intelligence, it is measured or it is assessed in terms of the emotional quotient. Okay. So that is EQ. Like all of you must be aware about the IQ, that is we call as intelligence quotient. That is, intelligence is measured in terms of IQ. Similarly, emotional intelligence is measured in terms of the EQ. Okay. So to elaborate a little on these two words, because emotions are important in various aspects of our life. Okay. If you just recall your day's experience, okay, and you might know, you might be feeling that, okay, I have experienced these various kinds of emotions in today. Okay, so at the end of the day, if you just recall, you can see that, okay, maybe you have enjoyed with your friend a cup of coffee, or you had arguments with someone, or you had experienced some anger or negative emotions like sadness during the day. So all these emotions are there. But at the end of the day, when you reflect on these things, it is not the content that you remember, it is the emotions that you remember. Okay. So that is why it is very important that at the end of the day, we need to unwind ourselves of these negative energies of emotions. Okay, because emotions, when we talk about, they are full of energy, whether it is a positive emotion, whether it is a negative emotion, like happiness, anger, sadness, there are different emotions. Okay, they carry different types of energies, positive or negative. So if we reflect these emotional energies that we carry at the end of the day, that sets our mood, that creates either happy feelings, happy memories, or negative memories and um, feelings of stress and all those things at the end of the day. So it is very important for all of us, first of all, to know what are the emotions that we are experiencing, identify them, and then know how to manage those emotions. Okay, so that they do not keep on piling, and then at the end of the over the time, it might take up a different form, like it might end up in various mental health related issues and problems, or behavioral problems, or different kinds of issues. So it is very important to identify, to know, be aware about our emotions, and how do you manage them, how do you resolve them, so that these emotional burdens, they do not pile up, they do not aggravate into different kinds of behavioral or emotional problems later on. Okay. Because if we think about it from the physiological point of view also, as I said, emotions carry energy. So when they pile up, they lead to different kinds of physical health problems as well as mental health problems also. So that is why when we are bringing in the term intelligence here, the main objective here is that, as we know, we talk about intelligence. Okay, this child is smart, this child is intelligent, his or her intelligence is high. So we have a certain connotations about intelligence. Okay. Now that intelligence we need to bring into the emotions that we are experiencing. So that the main point here is that how do we manage our emotions in an intelligent way? Okay. So that emotions, rather than harming us, they would be our friends, they would be facilitating our adjustment or adaptation to different kinds of situations, or they will help us in making proper choices or taking effective decisions, okay, or communicating effectively with other people around us. Okay. So that is the whole purpose of emotions, emotional intelligence, that whatever emotions we are experiencing, we need to deal with them in an intelligent manner, so that we are able to take proper decisions or make good choices, or carry out in an effective manner in our day-to-day life, in our functioning. So because this emotions and intelligence, these are very important. Now, as we see in the slide here, that we sometimes we see that there are arguments. Sometimes we see that we are not patient with others. We do not listen to others. Though we say that, okay, we are listening, but then the real listening, that is not there. Okay, the other person doesn't feel heard about, like, when the person is sharing different things. Or sometimes we complain about others, we blame others, we point out others, we have arguments, and different emotional outbursts are there. So what does all these things indicate? Okay, I'm sure all of us must have experienced these things in our day-to-day life. Okay, as we are interacting with the students, as we are interacting with our colleagues or other people around us, we must have experienced these things. So all these things indicate that we are experiencing these emotions, but we are not able to deal with these emotions in an intelligent way. So that is how we become stressed. We feel stressful, or different kinds of problems, interpersonal issues or relationship problems come up. Or so that is why we need to be very aware about it. Okay. Now, just to give you an example here, might be many of you must be knowing about this. You have your boss or the supervisor or your principal or dean, okay, and suppose the person is angry with you regarding your that you have not been able to do some task properly, or some kind of negligence or something is there. So the boss has got angry with you. Now, you, in that particular situation, you are not able to express, even if you are feeling resentment or you are feeling yourself angry also, that this is not proper the way the boss is talking about this thing, though you have put in your hard effort into that. So at that moment of time, you may not be able to react angrily in front of your boss. So what do? You come out, and then but the emotion is there in you. That anger or the feeling of upset and the stress or that frustration is there within. So what do? You come to your colleagues and maybe you express those things, you get upset with them, or you start fighting or start some arguments with them. And then when you come home, maybe it gets released on your spouse, on your children. And they in turn, maybe the child in turn expresses his reactions on the pet dog at home. So this is a chain of reaction. The anger, that emotion which started in the workplace in front of your boss, that has carried over and that has ended at your home with your children and then on the pet that you have at home. Okay. So if you analyze this particular situation, what we are seeing here is that the emotion that has started, if it is not managed properly, if you are not aware about that emotions, if you are not able to identify that emotions, if you are not able to take any step towards handling that emotion in a proper way, then it has different manifestations. It has different, it impacts in different ways in your life. Okay. So that is why it is very important that we need to identify emotions. We need to know that particular emotion which we are experiencing and then learn to how to manage or regulate these emotions. Okay. Now, one point here I would like to emphasize here is that usually we say controlling emotions, okay, when we talk about emotional intelligence, but there is a line of difference when we are talking about whether controlling emotions or managing emotions or regulating. Okay. In emotional intelligence, usually we talk about regulating the emotions or managing the emotions. Okay. Because controlling, when you say it is sort of external orientation is there to some extent. Okay. But here, when we are talking about emotional intelligence, how do you manage your emotions? Here, we are not talking about some sort of external influence or external orientation or external factors playing a role in controlling these emotions, because ultimately it is that these are the emotions I am experiencing. So these are the emotions I need to regulate or I need to manage rather than controlling. Okay.
And the slides are not moving.
No, I'm just explaining the thing. Then
Sure.
Right. Tell about the slides. Okay.
Right.
So, yeah. So as I was telling you that instead of controlling, here we talk about regulating the emotions. Okay, because controlling it is some sort of suppressing. It indicates a hint of suppressing the emotions or some sort of external agency. But here, when you're talking about regulating my emotions, I need to focus on. It focuses on the internal orientation, internal approach, because I need to basically identify the emotions and then understand these emotions and then regulate these emotions in a better way. Okay. Now here I will just give you an example of the marshmallow experiment. If you when you can see this in the slide here. The marshmallow experiment, it was conducted long back in Stanford University by Walter Missel. In 1972, he had done this experiment. This is a beautiful experiment which reflects how emotional intelligence is important. It highlights a particular characteristic of emotional intelligence. Now, what he did is that in the experiment lab situation, he invited, he had done this experiment on 5-year-old children. So the child was invited to the experimental room, and the child was offered a marshmallow. Okay, marshmallow is like some sort of tasty snack, which we can say the child, it's like a chocolate or something, which the child loves to. Children love it. Okay, so he said that if you want to have in front of the child on a plate, he gave one marshmallow. He said that if you want to eat it, you can eat it now. But if you want to wait, I'm going out for some work, I'll come back after 15-20 minutes. Then I will, if you can wait till that time, I'll give you 2 marshmallows. Okay. Now, mind you, these children were 4 or 5-year-old and they like marshmallow. Children love marshmallow a lot in that context. So then it was observed that some children could wait. Okay. They have the marshmallow in front of them. There are beautiful videos of this you can see on the website also. So they have the marshmallow in front of them. Some children, they could wait, but some children could not wait. They had the marshmallow which was there in front of them. Okay. Some children who were able to wait, they engaged in different types of behaviors. Okay, because the desire was there to have the marshmallow, which is right there in front of them, but then they had to restrain themselves that, okay, no, another marshmallow will be coming, so I need to wait for that, and then so that I can have 2. Okay. So they engaged in different, like they used to be holding the marshmallow, then keeping it back, and being restless or sitting in their seat here and there, something like that. So they devised different strategies to just wait for those 15-20 minutes. And then when the experimenter came back, they, as promised, he gave them 2 marshmallows, and then they had. So these children were observed later on also, and then it was found that when they were adolescence age, it was found that those children who were able to wait, they performed very well in different aspects of their life compared to the other children who were not able to wait during that time. The point here is that this experiment highlights one characteristic of emotional intelligence, that is delayed gratification. Their gratification of having that marshmallow, the desire or the satisfaction of eating that marshmallow, they were able to delay, some children. And if you see this particular delayed gratification, this has implication in various aspects of our life. For example, one child is studying for examination or preparing for a particular performance. Okay. Then, and there are other entices also, like one has to go, like there's a world cricket match coming up that day, and then the child has to watch. The child feels that, okay, I have to watch this, the final match, but then he has to prepare for this. So here also it talks for this delayed gratification, okay, like where the child needs to focus. In Indian culture, if you see, in Indian tradition, we talk about prayer and sriya. Okay. Prayer is what you desire to have. I love, or I like this, or I want to have this. This pizza or burger or this ice cream. Okay. Sriya is what is good for me. Okay. What ultimately will bring good for me. Okay. So I know I have a little cold or this thing, but then I want to have the ice cream. So here I want to think, I need to think that what is good for me. At this condition, it is better for me to avoid having an ice cream. Even if my friends are having, and then I feel tempted to have it. Okay. So this prayer and sriya, this is very crucial to understand. If you think about our Indian culture and tradition, we have a number of such concepts which we need to highlight. Okay. These things are also related to emotional intelligence. So like this prayer and sriya difference, this is related to this delayed gratification concept. We need to be aware of it and then develop this characteristic in our children, in fact, within ourselves also. So, because this will help us in managing our emotions in a better way. Now, this concept of emotional intelligence, this was popularized by Daniel Goldman. Okay, maybe you might have heard about his name. In 1995, he has written a book on emotional intelligence, why it can matter more than IQ. Okay. So he focused on, when we talked about emotional intelligence, he said that IQ is important, but EQ, it matters more than IQ. And why it matters more than IQ, he has beautifully explained in that book. So he says that, I mean, we need to focus on recognizing our emotions. We need to focus on identifying our emotions in oneself and also in others. so that this will help us in communicating better with others, in solving problems effectively, in taking proper decisions, in regulating our behavior. Okay. So if we see the definition here, we talk about emotional intelligence. It is the capacity to be aware of, to control, rather regulate and express one's emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. So empathy is a very important characteristic that comes under emotional intelligence. So if you see this definition, it talks about being aware about our emotions, being able to express our emotions, and being able to manage our emotions in effective way, so that we can handle our emotional, our interpersonal relationships effective way, and in an empathetically, in an empathic way. The empathy, what it refers to is that being able to think from the other person's point of view. You are taking a different perspective here from the perspective of another person. So emotional intelligence, when we talk about being aware about the emotions in other people, empathy is a very crucial skill that is required here. Okay. Now, if you see the another definition here, this is given by Mayer and others in 2008. It talks about that emotional intelligence is the ability to carry out accurate reasoning about emotions. Okay. That means you are able to analyze your emotions, understand your emotions, what actually they are, and why they are arising, why they have, why you are experiencing these kind of emotions, and the ability to use these emotions and emotional knowledge to enhance your thought. Okay. So that means what does it indicate here is that, first of all, you have to be aware about your emotions, reason about your emotions. That means understand what are these emotions, and then what do you do with those emotional information. By taking those information on your emotions, you should be able to use these emotions in a proper way, in a better way. Okay. So that this can facilitate your thinking process, it can facilitate your problem solving, it can facilitate your decision making power. Okay. And this will help you in to deal with a particular situation in a better way. Okay. So if we see here, if we analyze these definitions, we can say that there are different skills. There are 5 main skills in emotional intelligence that we can highlight about. As we see in the slide here, it has self-awareness, self-regulation, then we talk about empathy, social skills, and decision making. So these are the 5 crucial components or elements of emotional intelligence. Okay. Now, self-awareness, as we have said, this is about you are aware about, you have the knowledge about your own thoughts, feelings, or motivations. Okay. So that means basically to be aware about our own self. There are different activities actually. Maybe many of you might have done these activities with your students. So that helps you to understand oneself. Okay. Similarly, along with self-awareness, there comes, after I understand about my own thoughts, feelings, and motivations, how do I regulate? So self-regulation is the ability. Okay. The example that I talked about in the beginning, a boss has scolded you, you are experiencing those emotions, and you need to know how do you regulate those emotions. If you are able to regulate, then those emotions will not go on further affecting your relationship with your colleagues or with your family members, like that. Okay. So self-regulation is very important. And then at the same time, being aware about your own emotions, you also need to be aware about other emotions. What are the other emotions other people are experiencing? The people around yourself, how they're experiencing different emotions. So that calls for your social skills. Okay. You need to be, that is why a listening skill is very important here. You need to be observing other people. You need to be really listen to other people so that you can know what are the emotions they're experiencing. Because from that, it will be that you will be able to express empathy with them. You'll be able to appreciate what are their perspective, how they are looking into a particular situation. And all these things self-awareness, self-regulation, social skills, and empathy will help you in taking proper decisions, okay, making responsible choices. Okay. So that is why these are the different components of emotional intelligence. Okay. Now, when you analyze these different elements or components of emotional intelligence, what we see here is that we can see the different characteristics of an emotional intelligent person. Because when you're talking about emotional intelligence, definitely you might be thinking that, okay, how do we know that, okay, this person, we can call that this is, this person is an emotionally intelligent person. What are the characteristics that we need to look into or we need to develop ourselves? Okay. So if you really analyze these 5 components, then we can know that the characteristics of an EI or emotional intelligent person will be that the person is aware of his or her feelings and emotions. The person is aware about the feelings and emotions in another person. The person is able to delay gratification, as was evident in the experiment by Walter Missel. The person is able to motivate himself, motivate others. Okay, they are able to take the initiative. Okay, they have good interpersonal relations. They can handle stress or frustration in a better way. They are optimistic or resilient. So, like if you see this like slide where we are having low emotional intelligence and high emotional intelligence. Okay, so these characteristics we can very easily see here that, for example, the person who are having high emotional intelligence, they are more assertive. They are warm in their approach. They are enthusiastic. Okay, they exhibit patient listening, patient behavior. They are very patient in their approach. Careful, systematic approach you can see, whereas the person who are having low emotional intelligence, maybe they are more aggressive in nature. They are like impulsive, or their listening ability is low, or they may be confrontational, okay, argumentative. So these are the different characteristics that we can see. And if we overally, if we see mainly emotional intelligence, we can say that this consists of intrapersonal intelligence and interpersonal intelligence. Okay. When you are analyzing these characteristics, you can see some of the characteristics, they are related to intrapersonal. Okay. And some are related to the interpersonal skills. Okay. Like being having social skills, or being a good communication skills. These are interpersonal intelligence. On the other hand, like controlling your impulse or delayed gratification, okay, being patient. These are listening skills. These are relates to intrapersonal intelligence. So basically, emotional intelligence, when we talk about intrapersonal intelligence and interpersonal intelligence, these are the two broader domains, we can say, that comes under emotional intelligence. Okay, just to give you an example here, for example, you are having a heated argument with someone, your colleague, maybe. Okay, so what, or with a family member. So what will you do there? Okay. There may be different options in front of you. Either you can stop the fight and then take a short break before you again start discussing about the issue with your colleague, or maybe you just shut down and then you don't respond to that other person. A third possibility may be you just give in and just leave it because you just want to stop the argument quickly. You don't want to continue further. Or another option, maybe you start insulting the other person. Okay. So there may be different ways you respond to the other person. For example, in this case of like you're having a heated argument with another person. So it will depend on, maybe like all of you can think about it and then think for yourself which option you will be taking and why. Okay. So this also is in a way, if you are saying that you will just start insulting the other person, then maybe you are not behaving in an emotional, intelligent manner. Okay. So so you have to think about what option you'd like to take and why you would like to take that. Okay. usually what we say here is that, usually when we are in an emotional situation, our thoughts get clouded. We are not able to think clearly. So that is why this a very common this thing we say that whenever you are angry, then just count down. Okay, 10 to 1 or 100 to just count down. What is the objective there? That gives you a pause. Okay, so that the heightened emotions, those things, they subside a little bit. Then our thinking becomes clear. Okay. So emotional intelligence, when you're talking about emotions are there and intelligence is there. So when it is not that you use emotions only to decide on something or to behave properly, you have to bring in intelligence there. Okay, so that you know how do you manage your emotions. Okay, and that leads to a proper decision or a proper choice of effective handling of the particular situation. Okay, so that is why in various situations, as we know, our IQ and the EQ, to what extent they contribute to success, the various studies have shown here is that our intelligence or our IQ, it contributes 20% to our effectiveness or success in life. Whereas the rest of it, the 80%, it is contributed by it or it is influenced by our EQ, emotional intelligence quotient. Okay, so that is why it is very important to focus. By saying this, it is not that we are denying IQ or we are not giving due credit to intelligence or the intelligent intellectual capability. This is very important, but this has to go together, IQ as well as EQ. Then only we can say that the real success or achievement can happen. Okay. So because in our school systems, definitely both the aspects, cognitive aspect as well as affective aspect, both these things need to be taken into together, because as per our national education policy also, what is the purpose of education? This also highlights that to develop good human beings. Okay. And then good human beings, those were capable of rational thoughts, action, scientific temper, all these things focus on your intelligence part. At the same time, it also talks about having compassion, empathy, resilience, okay, and ethical values. So it highlights the emotional intelligence aspect also. So it has to be together. So I think I will end it here. And then just to sum up what I talked about is that emotional intelligence, it is very important, not only in our personal life, our relationships, but also at the workplace and other spheres of our life. It has various benefits. Okay, so, and it mainly involves knowing about our emotions, regulating our emotions, and knowing about emotions in others, and managing our relationships with others, and being able to motivate ourselves and take the initiative and take proper decisions. So, because emotional information, it is very rich information that we have, but then we need to use this properly so that it can help us in being effective and in our smooth functioning in our life. Okay. So I think I'll end it here, and then the logical sequence after this is that once we know about emotional intelligence, then definitely the question comes, how do we manage this? How do we improve? How do we enhance our emotional intelligence? So I think my colleague, Dr. Sakshi, will take it further here. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your guidance. I would request Dr. Sakshi Kaul to take over.
Yeah, before ma'am takes over, a request to all the participants, if you have any key questions, please do enter it into the Q&A box. We have already received about 8-9 questions, which we will take it up after Dr. Sakshi Kaul finishes her presentation. But we would definitely want to see a good amount of questions coming in. Please do key in your questions in the Q&A box. Over to Dr. Sakshi Kaul.
Thank you so much, Shinde sir. Thank you so much, Bhairavi. And thanks a lot, Dr. Swati Patra, for setting such a strong ground about the idea of emotional intelligence. I think it all started with the Dr. Murthy talking about how it is important and, the idea of self-awareness and management, and what ma'am has been talking about, the aspect of inter and intra. So let me just begin from where ma'am has left and try and fit into her shoes. So when we are talking about emotional intelligence, the first thing we need to understand is it's basically nothing but we exhibiting our emotions in the right manner, or the right, I would say the right dosage. Ma'am very effectively said, I was reading it somewhere where it says what matters is in a dish that the ingredient of the salt goes in a right manner. If it is less, we say it's not as good, and if it's more, we definitely do not like it, and it's not edible. It's as simple as that. Salt. Similarly, it's about human emotions. How are we expressing them? Are we expressing them in the right manner? We may get angry. Ma'am has given numerous examples of how we can manage, what of choice are we taking about while we are trying to manage our emotions, while we are wanting to modify our emotions. Now, the idea is, can we change? Well, yes, why not? Be it whatever age, be it whatever gender, we should be in constant mode of learning, and hence, yes, we can change and we can learn to improvise and be able to control or manage our emotions better and more effectively. So before I start ahead, I would also want to tell you about a story or a concept, which already ma'am has said, but it's a little different 80-20 over here that I'm going to be talking about. Now, I talk about here about an angry father. It's just the title, but it is not just the angry father. It could be an angry boss, like ma'am mentioned. It could be an angry mother. It could be an angry teacher. Now, what happens? So there's this beautiful story of let's imagine a breakfast table where the parent, the father, and the mother, and one son is sitting, and they're sitting and trying to have breakfast. And the father says to the son, quickly finish your milk because your bus is about to arrive. An everyday scenario, I think, in each of the households that we see. Now, what happens is the boy, being a little clumsy, ends up toppling over the milk of glass, and it falls on the table and on the father's shirt and everything, and he's angry. He's angry enough, and he screams and he shouts and he gets very upset, and he says, I had an important day, I was dressed up properly, and you've just messed it. So he's absolutely angry about the whole scenario, and he's taking out his anger on the family, the son, and he's telling him all possible words which were not appropriate on a part of a parent. And he's saying that, this is really hurtful and you've created a lot of chaos. Now, this child is moving on for the day. When the father drops the child goes to the school. Now I'm talking about a ripple effect of what's happening. The child goes to the school. He tries to engage with the class, but he's not feeling good, and he's sad and unhappy, right? Because he was scolded by the father that day. So going back to the father, what's happening there? He reaches the office, but he's late and he is unhappy and he's very irritated. There's an important meeting, but he feels that he's lost the track of it. And at the end of the day, the whole day goes in a very bad mood. What's happening? When we're coming back in the evening also, the same negative mood carries on. Now, could there be a change in the scenario? A slide before that, I asked about change. Yes, there could be a change. Now, what was that change? That change is that 80% that you and I have control over. The 20% in our life, we usually are not able to control because they're absolutely extraneous variables. When we talk about research, we constantly keep talking about that. But in life also, there's so many extraneous variables. Let me give you an example. Like if I'm coming to the office, there's a traffic jam. So that's an extraneous variable. I'll get late if there's a jam, right? Now, what do I do? A very simple thing. I know on my way at a particular time, there's jam. So what do? I try and start early. That's a solution. Now here in the situation could have been better. The situation could have been of a happy family at the end of the day If only the father would have been a little polite, maybe would have managed his anger, would have not shouted on the child and politely explained him. And he said, okay, it's okay now that it's spilled over, just be a little careful. It was an important day for me. That way, he would have controlled his emotions. He would have not let the negative ripple effect on the family, on the son, and even his own self. And that's quite often that we all do. Forget about the fact that how our emotions not only affect us, which means the intra part that ma'am was talking about a while ago. It affects others, which means the inter part, which means I impacted because I was feeling angry, I was feeling bad, I was unhappy, I impacted my child. What did I do? Shouted at him. And in the process, the inter aspect of the emotion also get affected. We sometimes feel, oh no, why are you unhappy? But if the environment is such, then obviously there is going to be a ripple effect. Let me give you a very beautiful, this gives me another example. I'm sure you all have seen a domino effect happening where, one thing topples, everything associated with keep toppling and going in a chaotic manner, right? A spiral down also we often call it in psychology. So what can be done? Only one step back helps managing such things. So moving ahead, I would like to brief you a little bit about managing emotions. I know my audiences are the principals and teachers, and it's very important for us to understand how do we manage these emotions, especially when it comes to children and our own self. So these are, it's like a count 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That is reminding your own self that it's never okay to hurt others. Quite often we feel so much granted. Oh, he's my wife, she's my wife, he's my husband, he's my sister, brother, or maybe a friend, or maybe a child, and it's absolutely okay. It's okay to hurt. But the fact is, you should remember it hurts, it pains, and it stays in your memory. So it's really not good. So let's try not hurting our loved ones, or for that matter, even any other person, right? Second, now what do? Ma'am already said, take deep breaths, count to 10. Research shows that especially when we are angry, and we're talking about the negative emotion of anger here, and what happens is when we are quiet for 10 minutes, or we just count for those 10 seconds, and we do, either we do 1 to 10, or we do 10 to 1. We are calming ourselves down. I don't mean the 1 to 10 means that you're kind of building up and saying, okay, now I'm going to shout even loudly, but it means you have to calm yourself down. Hence, you count and you take deep breaths and you calm your body, you calm yourself. And you think before you speak. You think before what you wanted to say, even in anger. See, we need to understand, even while I'm angry, just because I'm angry and I can shout and I can break things is not a way to express anger or an emotion. I can express and I can say, okay, I'm angry. I think I don't agree. And I would like to step out or step back. And ma'am gave that beautiful example already. Now look at the step 3. It says, use words to say how you feel about it, how you wish it would have happened. So maybe if I'll say, oh, you were a little, let's take the example of the parent. And oh, you were a little, clumsy today. Let's not do that. Let's be a little more careful. And this creates a chaos, or this creates a problem. At least the child would have, again, this would have made the child feel bad at the same time, but at least you would have put your word forward without really hurting the person. Fourth, it says, ask for help to solve the problem. See, even though I'll say I'm an expert in psychology, ma'am would agree to that, we do not have all the solutions all the time. There are problems that we encounter and we realize we sometimes need to seek help, sometimes of an experienced person, sometimes of some specialist. So let's suppose, again, taking an example, if I need to take care of my body in terms of not feeling well and I have pain in my eyes, I'm supposed to visit an ophthalmologist, right? To be able to seek help and to be able to make some corrections if required. So seeking help is something we need to realize. Quite often we shy out from that and we do not want to seek help. So I would say, please encourage children to seek help. At the same time, as an adult, do not shy out from taking help from others. And last of the 5th step is take time out to calm down. It's very, very essential to stay calm, to be able to think calmly. Ma'am very nicely also talked about how when we are, hide up in our emotions, we might not be able to take the right choice or a decision. We will have an outburst. We will not know the right way to respond. And hence, I'll simply say the world looks a little too crazy. It looks a little too hazy while we are in a heightened state of emotion. So essentially, if you're making a choice, we should always calm down and then make a choice. Okay, let's moving on, especially now focusing about children and emotions. I wanted to bring this because we have teachers, we have parents, we have principals, all of us. Children experience all these emotions of being angry, surprised, sad, happiness, and there's a huge, beautiful color gamut of the kind of emotions a child, or for that matter, an adult can experience. Now, the point is, how do they learn these emotions? Do we ever sit and teach them that this is how you have to get angry? Or, oh, surprise means, oh my God. Or, oh, sad means that you make a face. Not really, but subtly we are doing it. Now, how are we doing it? They are observing us. Children observe their adults, they observe, and then they try and imitate the behavior. They just copy you, to just know, okay, when you're angry, you're supposed to shout. You're angry, you're supposed to throw something because they have seen. So the environment, it plays a very significant role. We need to, as facilitators, as people working with children of any age for that matter, understand that the emotions that they're exhibiting are learned from nobody else but you and me. It could be a parent, it could be a teacher, it could be a caregiver or anyone. So hence, make sure that, we are expressing in the right manners for the children to learn it the correct way. We always, oh, I'm sad. So I remember this beautiful instance of one of my colleagues, and she got her son the other day. It was a 2-year-old child, and when she had a high pitch and she shouted at him, he curled his lower lip and he was like, I'm sad. That's so beautiful. Who taught him that? The mother, the father, and that's how children learn. So let's understand if a child is behaving in a certain manner, it has something to do with what he has learned, observed, he's imitating, and the environment. Here, I would also want to give you a very beautiful example of a Bobo doll experiment where it was observed, category of children put into 2 groups. One group watched a very nice media, a video, okay, which was generally about happy video kind of a thing, right? And second was an aggressive video. Now, there were both boys and girls, bringing into the fact of gender, that watched this aggressive video where the other person was being hit or hurt or smashed. And when after watching this specific videos, the 2 groups were put into a room, and there was a Bobo doll put in front of them. The one who had just watched a pleasant video were generally playing in a happy state of mood and were good. But the ones who watched the aggressive hit out, hurting, shouting, and screaming, be it the girl or a boy, they both exhibited the same heightened emotion of anger, and they started to hit the doll. Hence, we cannot say that the environment does not play a significant role. And that's why we keep saying that give the right kind of environment to the child so that he's able to learn. And hence, we are somewhere or the other reason or responsible for the kind of emotion a child is exhibiting. So I will say get cautious and be conscious. Now, moving ahead. What does emotional intelligence do? Let's look at it as an adult now for a moment. It helps you to improve your decision making. If you're emotionally intelligent, you will look at the pros and cons. You will look at the scenario. Ma'am very beautifully said in the morning, sir very beautifully said in the morning, emotion and intelligence, they're two separate variables, and we're combining them in the right essence to make something called emotional intelligence, or we refer to as emotional quotient. Now, if it is in the right mix, then we are making the right decision. If we are in a heightened emotional state, we will not be able to make a right decision, or maybe even lack of intelligence would lead to same bad decision making. Hence, the right mix of being emotional, being intelligent helps us make the right choice. It could be a career choice. It could be idea of, making a choice in terms of any kind of even basic reaction, I would say, what we've been talking about till now. Now, it says it decreases occupational stress. Now, why does it decrease? Because I understand, okay, if the person was in a bad mood, he shouted, I need not to shout back, right? As simple as that. And you realize it's okay. Sometimes people have the bad day. As simple as that, you've been smart, you're not letting that negative incidents influence you, and you choose to step back and try and reduce your own stress. We all know the moment the level of stress increases, it affects us both physiologically, psychologically, it impacts our performance. It obviously makes us feel not good at all. And that's not where we want to move ahead. It says team performance. Now here, team, you put it as team when it is an organizational setup, or even any kind of relationship for that matter, a parental relationship or a friend relationship. That's also two people working together in a team to be able to manage well. And what's happening over here? We're talking about the interrelationship. What if you're emotionally intelligent, you will be strong enough to have a good interrelationship with your loved one, with your team member, be it office, be it home, be it your own child. Moving ahead, it says increase leadership capacity. It has been observed, it has been researched very well, and they say those who are at leadership positions are people who are emotionally intelligent, have been able to found to have a good mix of using their emotions and intelligence, exhibiting the right kind of attitude and behavior, thereby are becoming leaders. Increase personal well-being. As simple as that. If I'm emotionally intelligent, I am benefiting far myself than I'm benefiting the others. And the best part is, while I'm doing that, the ripple effect, all and everyone around me gets benefited in the right manner. And it says turnover gets reduced. I would say a negative relationship or an end on to the relationship, all that becomes better. Moving ahead, I want to throw a little bit of light on the idea of managing emotions, both for self and the other. Now, when we are talking about emotions, we need to understand that two aspects. One is the self, and the other is others. That is the social associations that we have. Again, it could be our family member, it could be a child that we are working with, it could be professional setup. Anything. That's the social component of it. And self is our own self, where we are aware. Are we aware of our emotions in the current moment? How am I feeling? We often know, oh, I'm hungry, oh, I'm thirsty. But when it comes to emotions, are we really able to identify our emotions? Am I upset? Am I irritated? Am I unhappy? Am I angry? Am I sad? We need to be able to identify and get aware of that emotion. See, unless we are aware of certain things, we will not be able to do a good management. So it says, the first slide says self-awareness, and it says self-management, which means being able to control. Dr. Swati could use the word self-regulation. That's very essential. Only when I know I'm thirsty will I pick up a glass and drink, right? Hence, awareness and management go in hand. And first, we need to focus ourselves so that once I'm in a good state, I'll make sure others around me will be in a good emotional state as well. If you are self-aware, you're more likely more assured, and you are assertive, you are more confident. When it comes to management, what happens? You are very concise, your adaptability is high, you're trustworthy, and people are able to relate to you very well. Moving a little bit about on the idea of others. Ma'am very beautifully kept talking about empathy. That means where we are trying to understand the other person, we are trying to understand how others around us are acting or behaving, and we need to understand the environment, or we need to understand how we are creating an environment that's impacting others, thereby essentially being able to modify if required, make certain changes if required. That's what we call it as managing, right? And here, when we're trying to manage, it's about being able to influence somebody in the right manner, being able to comfort them if required, being able to have a better understanding that helps us collaborate more effectively, work. And it's not just official setup or workplace. This applies as effectively to a personal setting as well. So how now do we improve emotional intelligence, enhance our EQs, emotional quotient? Awareness and management, like I just spoke a while ago about self and others, is primary. It's very, very essential. Being able to regulate the emotion, check the proportion. Am I using my anger in the right proportion? Is it required? Can I step back and not make a big deal about it, yet be able to express myself in the right way? So proportion makes a lot of a difference, reminding you once again, the right amount of sugar, the right amount of salt makes the dish right. Trust me, there may be many ingredients, but what a salt can do to a dish, nothing else can do. And that's part of our emotions. So hence we need to be able to regulate our emotions in ways that we're giving the right proportion. Somewhere we were also talking about how we have to know ourselves, the intrinsic part. Are you motivated enough? Sometimes we instigate the situation. Why are you doing that? Is there any other reason behind it? Is something else? We often tend to say that, external reasons, but I would say, please look into the intrinsic part. If somebody is shouting at you, if somebody is reacting or acting, we need to know how we can behave and manage them, thereby exhibiting our state of calmness. And trust me, it really works very well. Empathy, developing empathy for others. Quite often we feel, I'm a very sensitive person, I am very particular about certain things. But most of the time I've realized when people are talking about being sensitive, they're talking about only their own selves. They're not talking about the other person. While you're talking about being sensitive, talk about being empathetic, which means you really understand the other person or the pain he or she might be going through. And hence being empathetic as an individual becomes very essential, and it exhibits that you're emotionally intelligent being, having high social skills. At most importance, we all want to be treated well. I'm sure everybody has heard this. Just let me reiterate it. Napoleon, when Pot was asked, how do you want to be treated? And he said, as a king should treat another king. As simple as that. Social skills are primary, they're essential, we should never forget. Even when we do not like somebody, I believe personally, very strongly, it's not necessary for us to express it in a very inappropriate manner. We can be very subtle about it, or we rather should not talk about it. That's good enough a signal for someone that you do not like him, right? You don't have to go and actually tell them, I don't like you, and things like that. You could just be subtle about the fact and step back. Trust me, we all understand. We call them as non-verbal communication. Let's give them a big thumbs up and use our essential social skills and become emotionally more intelligent. Now, I found this slide very, very interesting, and I wanted to show you all. We know about the red light, yellow light, and green light. Now, here we have all this red light, yellow light, green light, and a blue light. Now, what is this? It says a blue zone, where you're trying to identify. First, the idea is to identify your state or your emotion. Now, what happens when we identify? Are we able to effectively regulate ourselves? When I know my cup of coffee has less sugar, will I add more sugar? What am I doing? Getting aware. So get aware about whether are you falling today in a blue zone? Are you falling today in a green zone? Are you falling today in a yellow zone? Or are you falling in the red zone? And if so, not just get aware, take a step 2, which means do something about it. If you're in a blue zone that you're feeling sick or sad or tired or bored or sluggish, relax, take rest. Do not exert yourself, because otherwise you're going to get into the zone, maybe yellow or even red, where you'll get irritable, frustrated, and you'll be yelling out and you'll be in a bad mood. And then you'll say, oh, I'm not well, and nobody's understanding. So if you're not well, let us suppose, or you're sad, just step back, just try and relax yourself. Start with deep breathing, maybe drinking a glass of cold water, trying to understand, why am I feeling? Is it psychological? Is it physical? And then appropriately take care of yourself. If I'm in a yellow zone, which means a little more, I'm frustrated, I'm worried, something has happened, which is, seems out of control. And that's why here we can even talk about something good. Sometimes in a good state also, overexcitement also, we tend to spoil things. So we have to be alert about that as well. If you're feeling in yellow zone, again, step back. Think what needs to be said or what needs to be done. And a red zone, we know, means a big stop. You have to tell yourself to stop, to not get into the mode of being out of control. Most often, people say, oh, I regret saying something or doing something, just because while they were in the red zone, they did not stop, and they chose to get angry, to yell, to hit, to express it in the worst manner, thereby not only affecting their own selves, but others. So I would say better be cautious than repent later. Green zone, try and focus, try and be in control, try and stay happy, calm. And there's so many ways. I mean, I'm sure you all are more aware about it. And there's this beautiful quote I could not share with you for today. And it says, it's by Jim Robin. He's an American entrepreneur, though no more now, but it beautifully says, our emotions need to be as educated as our intellect. We all are intelligent. We all are very big intellectuals, but our emotion also, we need to educate it. It is important to know how to feel, how to respond, how to let life in so that it can touch you in the right manner, is what I would like to add from my side over here. Hence, our emotions should be as educated as we tell ourselves that we are. And one last more thing, learn to use your emotions to think and not think with your emotions. Given by Robert T. Kiyosaki, I'm sure you all are aware of him. He's the famous author of the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that's where I would like to end. We all should understand emotions are like beautiful colors. A hue of various shades are available. Let's just learn to use the right proportion, the right shade, and enjoy our lives and make life worthwhile for people around us. So I would like to stop here, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Sakshi. Yes, there are a few questions we have received for both of you. I can't see Dr. Swati Patra. Ma'am? Yes. Yeah. Okay, there are a few questions for you as well, ma'am. I would like to take first question, which is like how to encourage students to focus on their emotions.
Okay, yeah. See, when we are talking about students encouraging their emotions, basically it involves understanding, knowing, as we have been talking about, that emotional intelligence, basically it involves, first of all, knowing about the emotions, and then being aware about the emotions, and then understanding and regulating the emotions. So the first thing, Dr. Sakshi was also speaking about this when she gave that example of the father and the son, and that how the day went about. So here, the first thing is that we can take the step is that helping the students observe their emotions. Okay, and I'm sure teachers, specifically in the early school years, they carry out different activities where they can help the students to observe their emotions, basically. Okay, and identify what emotions they are experiencing. Okay, and for this, it is very important to focus on, okay, what are the emotions? And for this, it is important to have a conducive atmosphere, first of all, so that there is no criticism or there is no judgment regarding the different kinds of emotions one is experiencing. So it can be in a play situation, or it can be in a storytelling situation, or in the classroom, there is a story being shared by the teacher or this thing. So there, maybe the children can identify what are the emotions the different characters they're experiencing. So when they do that, automatically that also helps them reflect on their own emotions also later on. The ability to identify the emotions that develops. Okay. So also here one can talk about like thinking from the other's perspective. Okay, these things also in the school setting, the teachers can take up different activities where they can encourage the students to think from the other's perspective. The empathy that we are talking about as part of emotional intelligence. This is one important skill. Okay, I'm thinking from this perspective. This is my opinion or my view. Okay, but let me also know what another child, what is that child's perspective. They might be thinking about a particular situation from another angle. So, like for example, if there is a problem to be solved, or we have to find a way how to deal with a particular situation. Okay, I'm giving my suggestion. The other person also, other child might be thinking in a different way to solve a particular problem. So that also can be done in a school setup. And another thing here is that when you're talking about emotions, and the important ability here is that to pause and then think. When one is with different kinds of emotions, taking a pause is very important. That is why that impulse control that we talk about as part of emotional intelligence, that is very important skill. So one needs to take a pause so that the emotions that we are experiencing, the negative emotions that we are experiencing, that subsides a little bit, and then we can think clearly. Okay. So pause and think and then speak. Okay. This can be encouraged in the children. Okay. Like again, if I bring in the Indian cultural tradition here, we have a word that we talked about, Sthita Pragya. Okay. Sthita Pragya, basically, means that in whatever situation you are in, either it is a negative emotionally charged situation, or even if it is a very happy moment, happy situation, you are overjoyed. In either kind of situations, to have that emotional stability, which Professor Murthy talked about in the beginning, that having that emotional stability is very important. So these things can help the students to understand one's emotions and then manage one's emotions also. One more thing here I would like to highlight is that to have the difference between reacting to a particular situation and then responding. Majority of the times what happens is that we react. Okay. When we react, it is that we are not aware about our emotions. We are not aware about what we are saying, what we are doing. Okay. It is on an impulse we do. Okay. But when we say responding, it involves we know about the emotions that we are experiencing. We know the implications of these emotions, and we consciously take a decision. How do we respond to a situation? What do we tell, or how do we behave? So it is very important to differentiate between this. Are we reacting on the spur of the moment or without thinking? That is why that thinking part and the emotional part, both these things need to come together. That is why when we talk about emotional intelligence here. So these are the, I think, different ways we can help our students to basically know and identify, understand their emotions, and then respond properly to a particular situation.
Bhairavi, you will have to unmute yourself.
You're on mute, Bhairavi.
Yes, sir. One more question for Swati ma'am. How can emotional intelligence can help principals and teachers do better manage our schools and classes, and also interpersonal relationships in schools?
Okay. So when we are talking about teachers having emotional intelligent developed in themselves? Okay, or how do they behave towards the students in an emotionally intelligent manner? I think this is the question that you're talking about. Okay. See, there are various ways, and the basic thing, as I have said earlier, it comes to that identifying one's emotions and then learning how to manage. But two things I would like to highlight here. The first thing is that using the I language. Okay, when we are interacting with anyone, as teachers, with the students, or with anyone else also, how do I talk to the other people? How do I talk to my students? Okay, am I using what language I'm using? What is the content of that language? Okay, all these things matter. Like when I'm saying that using I language, for example, if I say to a child, the student, that you are being lazy, or you are always lazy, or you always come to the class late, or you are not responsible in your assignments or projects that you are given to complete. So what happens here is that I'm pointing at the child, I'm pointing at the student. Okay. Instead of that, if I say using the I language, that what I feel as a teacher, okay, that okay, when you're not doing your project on time, then I feel that you are capable of doing, but I feel that I feel that you are not completing your assignments on time, but still you are capable of doing this. As I have observed you over the time, you are capable of doing. So I'm feeling unhappy about it that you are not submitting that on time. So here I'm focusing on my feelings. Okay, if the student is not doing, then I feel unhappy or I feel sad. Okay, so you are conveying your own emotions when you're dealing with the child. Instead of that, when I say that you are always irresponsible or you are always lazy in submitting your assignments, what I'm doing, conveying to the child here is that I'm branding that child as a whole. Okay, that you as a child, you are like this, you are irresponsible, but this is not the fact actually. Okay, the child in entirety is never irresponsible. Maybe the child in this particular aspect, the child has shown irresponsible manner by not turning in the assignments on time. And again, here there might be reasons also why the child has not done that. Okay. So instead of branding the child in a whole, as a whole, okay, we need to focus on the behavior itself. Okay, like for example, if I give you a very, if I put it in this way, like for example, a child has stolen something. Let's put it in very directly, that if like for example, you might see that a child has taken a pencil or pen in the early school years from another child's bag. So if I say that okay, the child does stealing, okay, but that particular behavior if we focus on, then the child also will not feel that bad. The self-respect of the child, the self-esteem of the child will not get hurt. But if you focus on the particular behavior, okay, the child is basically good, but if this particular behavior of the child is not good, the child has not behaved properly with regard to this particular action, he has not done properly, then we are focusing on one aspect. So here comes the thing that we, as a teacher, I need to control, I need to focus on my emotions. What emotions I am experiencing? Why am I branding that entire child as a whole, that the child is not responsible? Okay. So I need to distinguish my own emotions. I need to focus on what particular emotions I'm experiencing, and then accordingly deal with the child. Okay. Also think from the child's perspective, that empathy that we are talking about in emotional intelligence, that also we need to focus on. Think from the other person's, the child's perspective, and then accordingly take steps. That will be a responsible and well thought out decision, or well thought out actions that we take as a teacher to solve or address a particular problem. Okay. So I think these are the two things that we can highlight here when I'm talking about, as a teacher, how I'm dealing with a particular student's emotions and manners.
One more question, Dr. Swati. During pandemic, the students and the children, they have got used to having gadgets most of the times in their hand. So at this point of time, how do we the parents and teachers can behave with the students emotionally to in the emotionally intelligent manner?
Yeah. See, this the gadgets and this thing, this is a quite widespread this thing. It is not during the pandemic, after the pandemic, and I think before the pandemic also it was there, but maybe the COVID pandemic, it has enhanced the problem further, because that time the children didn't have anything else. So it was a sort of easy way out to fall on these gadgets to spend their time and these things. And also because of the stressful experience the family members, the parents themselves were going through. So they were not able to be available for the children. Okay. So the problem has got enhanced or has aggravated, I can say. Here also again, from the emotional intelligence point of view, if we think about, then definitely we need to think from the child's point of view. Why the child is engaged to such an extent in the gadgets, be it mobile or laptop or the television, whatever it is, okay, having the online this thing. So we need to think about this, and then if there are different degrees, actually, we need to differentiate that also. Some children, they may be bordering on the addiction or over dependence. Okay, that definitely calls for a mental health professionals, assistance, and support how to deal with those things. Okay, but if we talk about the lesser extent of using of gadgets, okay, then definitely that can be dealt with at the school counselor level, or at the teachers level, and at the family parents level also. Okay, the only thing here required is that we need to focus from the perspective of the child. Okay, why the child is getting engaged into this, and many times we will find that there are no substitutes. Okay, substitutes in the sense that why that gadget attracts the child to such an extent. Okay, we need to think in terms of that. So we need to provide an alternative atmosphere which will attract the child to that extent. Okay, why the child is motivated to spend time on gadgets? Why? What other activities we can provide to the child which will attract the child to that extent? Okay, so many times we find that parents are not able to provide that time, that kind of engagement with the children, or the child might not be having the peer group to spend time with in that to that extent. Okay, like or the child might not be having the outdoor activities. Okay, like the child engaging in different kinds of play with the peer group, which is quite fun. Okay, maybe the child is not getting those kind of scope. Okay, so that is why this is an easy alternative. Okay, so we need to be aware about the child's environmental situation also, and what is the interaction the child is having with the family members, the parents. Okay, to what extent do these interactions are stimulating, these interactions are motivating. Okay, so it might not be that to immediately it can take a turn around and the child will start engaging with the parents to a great extent, but we can take little steps, like maybe one particular evening, the parents can take the child out of the child's choice outing. Okay, spend some good quality time. Okay, so we have to consciously create, like I can say, pockets of time, pockets of situation where the child will feel motivated. Okay, so those things will gradually win the child away from the gadgets. So these things can be done, and then gradually the child will feel that. And of course, one more thing here is that given the situation today, we cannot take the child away from the gadgets 100%, because for the project, for the school work, definitely the children are referring to these things. Okay, so it's the source of knowledge, awareness, also information also. But at the same time, we need to have a balance. Okay, to what extent the children will be should be using, and to what extent they should withdraw from it. Okay, so
thank you, ma'am. Now my next question is for Sakshi ma'am. Sakshi ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, Bharvi. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Yes. Do age has any specific limitations on EI, implications on EI, sorry? Do children and students be able to exhibit emotional intelligence?
Thank you for the question. Well, there is, in fact, before I answer this, there are other questions also, which and it's, related. It says, how do we improve EQ with students and especially adolescents? So I will try and answer both them together. So see, age per se will definitely have an implication, partially when we talk about emotional intelligence, because we need to teach children to be able to regulate and manage their emotions, right?
True.
They may not be able to do it themselves. So we'll have to gradually teach them to be able to first get aware, then be able to manage their emotions. And once done, be it adolescent, be it young children, they're able to manage the emotions very well. But yes, they have to be taught. Though we do not teach the child to get angry, but like I already mentioned, they observe and that's enough for them to learn it and exhibit it. But if they're learning or exhibiting the inappropriate manner of, let's say, expressing their anger, they have to be taught to be able to express the right manner of expressing their anger, thereby being able to, regulate themselves. Ma'am has been talking about the idea of regulating emotions. That means being able to first, when you're aware, only then you will be able to regulate your emotions. And to answer the fact that what do we do with adolescent? See, this age group is where they actually experience a lot of physiological and psychological changes. They experience aggression, they experience a wide range of emotions, sometimes an outburst. So instead of managing the outburst by giving them yet another outburst is not the right way, be it a parent, be it a teacher, be it a facilitator. The right way is to stay calm, to be able to acknowledge, to teach them, to get more aware of their emotions and be able to, acknowledge the fact that, okay, I'm irritated or I'm upset or I'm not feeling healthy or I'm not feeling fine, and then express it rather than purely having an outburst. So adolescents will have the outbursts. Let's please understand that. Be more, I would say, conscious as an adult of this fact, and not feel that, oh, what has suddenly happened to my adolescent child? Why is he or she behaving like that? They are going to behave like that. It is a natural process of growth. It impacts their body. Sometimes they not even understand how to label their emotion. I have a 13-year-old, and the other day he was just quiet. So I asked him what happened, and he said, I don't know how to say it, but I'm not feeling good. So I said, are you unhappy about something? He said, no. I said, okay, somebody said something to you? He said, no. So, sometimes they find it very difficult to even put a specific emotion or a specific label. Let them be. Let them be able to thereby understand how they are feeling and just be able to calmly respond instead of having an outburst. So that is something that I would say. Bhargavi, once again, please unmute yourself.
Can emotional intelligence can be learnt, and how it will benefit children and adults?
We all can learn. See, just because I'm an adult doesn't mean that I'm going to always be very intelligent in terms of being able to manage or express my emotions. I may be very bad as an adult. And that's how children, learn. We agree or we disagree with that. I'm fine. But the fact is they learn from us. Sometimes they learn it, like ma'am said, the kind of parenting that's happening, what's happening plays a very significant role. Are you giving enough time to your child? Are you spending the time in the right manner? And trust me, it's not the quantity, it's the quality, because that's quite often a question asked. As a counselor, ma'am would agree that, I'm a working parent. I'm not able to spend the quantity with my child in terms of time. It's absolutely fine. Just spend the quality. Are you giving those small pockets where they're, enjoying, they're having those pleasurable moments with you, where they're interacting with you? Are you giving them that scope of being able to express? We quite often tell them, oh, it's not good to be angry. Well, I would not say that. I would say it's good to be angry. And it's essential is how do you express your anger? The right way of expressing your anger. That is something we should, as a parent or a teacher or an adult, key that into our child rather than saying, oh, anger is absolutely a negative emotion. It is a very mandatory emotion. If I don't like something, I will have to tell it, right? The only thing is knowing the right manner.
Thank you so much for your guidance, Dr. Sakshi, Dr. Swati. It was a pleasure having you, sharing your knowledge with us. I'm sure all the principals and all the teachers, they will definitely look forward for, following this, what you have taught them today. I would also like to thank our Honorable VC Sir and all the participants from all the schools and for coming and participating in this session. My major thanks would be to our cluster team plan across India who has reached to all the educators and got them together today on this platform and made it a huge success. Thank you all so much. We look forward for more sessions with you. You have any suggestions? You can please get back to us. You can just let us know if you have, you want how many webinars and what topics you want, when you would like. We will definitely take it forward. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good day. So over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Swati Patra, and to Dr. Sakshi Kaul. It's always a pleasure to have you people coming in and helping us with our initiative of the School Development Initiative Program, which we have started 3 years back. We have done close to about 45, 50 odd programs up till now. And this year we intend to go to all the cities where our teams are operating. And we would like to bring together the prospective schools together for some very, very interesting workshops. And these workshops are going to be for topics that has been in demand. It could be either a one-day workshop or a two-day workshop. We are also looking at prospective schools to be the host. Anybody who has got a good auditorium, we would like to come and adopt that particular auditorium for a day or two. If it is required for 2 days, we don't mind looking at it from a 2-day activity. We will look forward to all the hospitality being taken care by the university and doing such workshops which can bring the educator fraternity together. And of course, this set of premium speakers whom we would want them to come, spend some quality time in terms of these development initiatives. I understand there's a lot of limitations when you do it in the virtual manner, but we are open to doing it in the face-to-face manner also. And we have kept some kind of a target with all our team members who are approaching to all the schools with this proposal of coming in or sending in your teachers, or even if the principals can come in. It would be a great motivational factor for all of us, especially from the SDIP team, from the management of the university, to look forward to having the principal, the leader of the institution being part of such initiatives, and also bringing in some of your team members so that the outcomes can be much better. Your teams can enjoy. If there are many schools where there is no programs being organized at all, you can take advantage of this. Take the forum of the SDIP through Dayanand Sagar University and allow us to organize this in your city, where there are about 15-20 schools coming in together. And we have a fun filled, we have quite a learning session being done. And we can look forward to certain amount of development and the personality development as well as the skill development, progressing. And we wish to form this community so that there is a lot of learning that takes place. After all, the only objective for us is that we should all keep progressing in our respective profiles. We should enjoy every single day of what we do today in our jobs. Our job is 50% of our activity that we spend in the entire day. We should really enjoy it. We should really be motivated and look forward to going to our profiles the next day. That is where the sole objective it is. And I would also like to extend a big warm thanks to the Rajbala Foundation under the aegis of Mr. Satish Kaushik, that we are able to connect with such good professors, with such good speakers, and we are able to deliver, at least currently with the online session, but we are also looking at very soon, probably, Bhairavi will come across and we'll have the schedules of the offline sessions also shared very soon. And
Sure.
let's look forward to meeting all of you very soon. So thank you so much. A special thanks to Dr. Swati Patra and to Dr. Sakshi and to the Vice Chancellor of the university. for spending their time with us on this Saturday. We look forward to seeing you very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.